Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Tuesday, March 27th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap the Women's Elite 8 games from last night, look ahead to the Final Four for the women's, pick the NIT Semifinals for tonight, recap last night's NBA games, pick tonight's NBA games, the TNT Double Header I'm talking about picking, and then I'll look ahead to the other games. Go over two big coaching hires in college basketball, the Giants' Odell Beckham Jr. saga, a big free agent move, and my fifth version of the 2018 NFL mock draft. All right, here we go. Women's Elite 8, the Albany region, 1-seeded UConn, of course, defeated number 2-seeded South Carolina, 94-65. UConn's off to the Final Four yet again. Gabby Williams put up 23 in the win. Aja Wilson put up 27 in defeat. I'm very surprised that this was a blowout. I thought South Carolina was going to be competitive in this game because they've actually played well against UConn through the years. And in the Spokane region, 1-seeded Notre Dame defeated 2-seeded Oregon 84-74 as the Irish advanced to the Final Four. Catherine Westbell put up 20 in the win, and Sabrina Ionescu put up 26 in defeat as the Irish advanced to the Final Four. Friday's matchups, you have Louisville against Mississippi State and Notre Dame against UConn. Two matchups between 4 1-seeds involved in them. That's exactly how I thought the Final Four would play out, and I was correct. You have the NIT semifinals tonight. First game being Western Kentucky against Utah from the Garden. This should be an interesting game. Western Kentucky was a decent team in the CUSA this year. Justin Johnson's their leading scorer. And then you have Utah. Justin Bibbins is their main guy. I think Utah's better, so I like them to advance to the championship game on Thursday night, so give me the Utah Utes. And then 4-seed Mississippi State against 4-seed Penn State in the other semifinal. You have Quindary Weatherspoon leading the way for the Bulldogs and Tony Carr leading the way for the Nittany Lions. Carr's the best player on the court, so give me Penn State to advance to the final. So you'll set up a Penn State and Utah for Thursday night from the wonderful Madison Square Garden. NBA last night, a couple interesting results that I want to hit up on real quick. The Hornets defeated the Knicks 137-128 in overtime. Charlotte's now 34-41. The Knicks dropped to 27-48. Kemba Walker put up 37 in the win. Had 7 assists as well. Trey Burke, an impressive game, 42 points and 12 assists in defeat. Maybe the Knicks found something with Trey Burke. He's been inserted into the starting lineup for the instead of the struggling Emmanuel Mudiay, who they acquired in a trade from the Denver Nuggets at the trade deadline. Burke is looking like a keeper for the Knickerbockers. The Pistons defeated the Lakers 112-106. Detroit's now 34-40. The Lakers dropped to 32-41 as the Lakers have been eliminated from playoff contention. The Lakers have to be proud of their season anyway, despite the franchise missing the playoffs for 5 years in a row. They're clearly heading in the right direction. They're going to land somebody in free agency, whether that's Paul George and perhaps, dare I say, LeBron James. But I doubt LeBron goes there, but it can't entirely be ruled out. Reggie Jackson put up 20 in the win. He's back from injury. Julius Randle put up 23 in defeat. And Randle's a nice player for the Lakers. And if I'm LA, I keep him around in case you are unable to land LeBron or Paul George. The 76ers defeated the Nuggets 123-104 in the return of Markelle Fultz. The Philadelphia 76ers improved to 43-30. Denver drops to 40-34. Joel Embiid put up 20 in the win. Will Barton put up 25 in defeat. Markelle Fultz put up 10 points, 8 rebounds in his first game back from injury. A terrible loss for the Minnesota Timberwolves, 101-93. Memphis went into Minneapolis and beat the Timberwolves. That's very disappointing for Tom Thibodeau's team as they dropped to 42-33. Memphis improves to 20-54. That's a bad sort of win for Memphis to move them down in the tank standings. Jeff Teague put up 25 in the defeat, and Wayne Selden put up 23 in the win. The Celtics defeated the Suns 102-94. That's 4 straight wins for Boston. Jason Tatum put up 23 in the win, and his draft mate, another fellow rookie, Josh Jackson, put up 23 in defeat. Boston's now 51-23. Phoenix drops to 19-56. And I believe the Suns have the worst record in the league now. Tonight's slate, you have the Spurs at the Wizards. 2 teams vying for playoff positioning. It'd be huge if the Wizards were able to pick off San Antonio here. You got the Nuggets at the Raptors. 2 teams in playoff positioning or battling for it if you're the Nuggets. Raptors trying to hold on to that 1 seed. TNT in the first game tonight is the Cavaliers at the Heat. Dwayne Wade's first game against LeBron James since his trade back to Miami. Tough call here. I'm supposed to pick this game because it's a TNT game. It's a players-only game, the first half of the doubleheader. The Miami fans don't like LeBron after he left Miami in 2014. LeBron's going to continue his case to dethrone James Harden for MVP. I like the Cavaliers to get the close win on the road to keep themselves in third place in the Eastern Conference because Philadelphia is a game back of them and Indiana is a game and a half back of the Cavs. And the Cavs have losses to both the Sixers and the Pacers this season as well. You have the Bulls at the Rockets. This is a must-win for the Rockets as they have to take advantage of a bad Bulls team. Trailblazers at the Pelicans. Huge game. Portland still clinging to that 3 seed. They're playing great right now. And the Pelicans battling for playoff positioning in the Western Conference as well. I wish that game was on TNT. Mavericks at the Kings. That's an interesting game. In terms of the lottery standings, not in terms of the playoff standings. Pacers at the Warriors. The injury-riddled Warriors. Yet again, their second straight home game where they're home underdog to a team that they're clearly better than. But right now, the Warriors aren't healthy. None of their stars are going to be playing. Maybe Draymond's back from the flu. Curry's not even going to be available perhaps until the second round of the playoffs. Durant and Thompson should be on their way back soon. And Indiana, on the flip side, is battling for positioning in the Eastern Conference. They're in the 5 spot right now. They're trying to move up to perhaps 3 if things go poorly for the Cavs down the stretch. And the nightcap of the TNT doubleheader, you have the Bucks at the Clippers, both at 39-34. The Bucks are battling for playoff positioning in the East, and the Clippers are trying to hang in that race in the West. Giannis Antetokounmpo will be the best guy on the court, but I don't think the Bucks win this game. The Clippers at home, on national TV, rise to the occasion. I'm going to say DeAndre Jordan has a great game, and the Clippers win a close one over Giannis and the Bucks. Standings real quick. 1's Toronto, 54-20. 2's Boston at 51-23. Cleveland is 3rd, 44-29. 4th is Philly, 43-30. 5 Indiana, 43-31. Those 5 teams have clinched. Washington is close to clinching their 6th, 40-33. Milwaukee 7 at 39-34. 8 Milwaukee at 39-35. So Milwaukee's a half game back. Or Miami's a half game back of Milwaukee. Detroit's 34-30. Charlotte's 34-41. The Knicks are 27-48. Chicago's 24-49. Brooklyn is 23-51. Orlando's 22-51, and Atlanta is 21-53. In the West, can you believe only 2 teams in the Western Conference have clinched playoff berths? And of course, I'm talking about Houston and Golden State. Houston 16-14. Golden State is 54-19. Portland is 45-28. In 3rd. 4th is Oklahoma City, 44-31. They're 2 back of Portland. I don't think they're catching them. And right up Oklahoma City sleeves, you have New Orleans and San Antonio, each at 43-31. They're both a half game back of Oklahoma City. They're in 5th and 6th. Utah's a game back of San Antonio, New Orleans in the 7th spot at 42-32. Minnesota's the 8th spot with 42-33. They're a half game back of Utah. Denver's in the 9th spot, 40-34. They're a game and a half back of Minnesota for the 8th spot. The Clippers are 2 games back of Minnesota for the 8th spot at 39-34. The rest of the standings is Lakers 32-41. Sacramento's 24-50. Dallas is 22-51. Memphis is 20-54, and Phoenix is 19-56. That's your NBA standings. 2 big coaching hires in college basketball. Chris Mack was hired to replace Dave Padgett at Louisville. Well, really, Rick Pitino. Dave Padgett was just an intern coach. Great hire for Louisville. I think Louisville's going to be back to a national title contender every year again. Mack's an excellent coach. Big loss for Xavier. I'm fascinated to see who Xavier goes after. Maybe they go after a hot mid-major coach like Ryan Odom of UMBC, perhaps. Just throwing that name out there. Kermit Davis was already hired at Ole Miss. So I'm fascinated to see who replaces Mack there at Xavier. And Jeff Capel was hired to replace Kevin Stallings at Pittsburgh. Unpopular opinion, but I like that hire. Capel did a nice job at Oklahoma. He recruited Blake Griffin. And then he got fired from Oklahoma as Lon Kruger replaced Capel there. And then Mike Krzyzewski hired Capel to be his lead assistant. I think this is secretly a big loss for Duke because Capel did a great job helping Krzyzewski recruit. Although I do still think Krzyzewski is the best recruiter in college basketball. And yeah, I said it because even though John Calipari is a great recruiter, Tom Izzo's great at it, Bill Self's great at it, but nobody's better than Coach K at recruiting. And I think Capel will do a pretty decent job at Pitt, and I won't be surprised if Pitt is a decent team 3-5 years from now, because it's going to be a long rebuild for Capel in that program. The Odell Beckham Jr. saga continues with the New York Football Giants. Pat Shurmur spoke to ESPN's Sal Palantonio today at the owners' meetings and simply said Odell is still on our team. And then Dave Gettleman made a bunch of comments about how they don't want to quit on talent, and he was asked about the video and how he's just sick of the rumors, and he didn't necessarily deny that the Rams offered the 23rd pick, and that to me is still intriguing, and this story is just going to keep going. A free agent move, Ndamukong Suh signed with the Rams, 1 year, $14 million. Excellent signing for the Rams to pair Suh up with Aaron Donald. The Rams are well on their way. They're right now, in my opinion, right there with the Vikings and the Eagles in terms of the top teams in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers coming back from Green Bay is also a big deal, but I think they're a tier below the Vikings, the Eagles, and the Rams. And I think the Saints belong in that top tier too after the year they had in the young defense and Drew Brees coming back. And I think the Saints will only get better as well. And you also have Atlanta that's decent, and Carolina. The NFC is going to be loaded, and then you have the Cowboys. We'll talk more football another day once the draft's over and free agency's over. And I'll obviously have a podcast when the schedule gets released, so I could do my schedule recap when that comes out. And speaking of NFL, I'm going to reveal my 5th NFL mock draft. Some of the picks are the same. Some of them are different. The first couple are the same, just a spoiler alert, but like I said, there's a couple of them that I changed. 1, Cleveland Browns, Sam Darnold, quarterback, USC. Although they did trade for Tyrod Taylor, he's not the long-term answer for a team that needs a long-term possible franchise quarterback for the future. Darnold could be that due to his leadership, good throwing arm, clutch play, as he's shown at the collegiate level, and his athleticism. 2, New York Giants, Josh Rosen, quarterback, UCLA. Some mock drafts have Big Blue taking Saquon Barkley or Bradley Chubb here, but after the blockbuster Jets-Colts trade, something tells me that Dave Gettleman plans on taking Eli Manning's successor. Rosen is perhaps the safest bet in this draft in terms of quarterbacks due to his accuracy and refined throwing mechanics, but he does have concussion problems, though. 3. New York Jets from the Indianapolis Colts. Josh Allen, quarterback, Wyoming. After missing out on Kirk Cousins, the Jets pivot and make a blockbuster trade to move up to 3. With Arnold and Rosen off the board, Allen is the choice. Allen has the most upside among the quarterbacks due to his athleticism, arm strength, and size, and draws comparisons to Carson Wentz. 4. Cleveland Browns from the Houston Texans. Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State. The Browns did sign Carlos Hyde in free agency, but there's still talks of the Browns taking Barkley first and the quarterback fourth. Barkley is the draft's best player, and he could do pretty much everything. 5. Denver Broncos. Baker Mayfield, quarterback, Oklahoma. Although they did sign Case Keenum, he's not the long-term answer at quarterback. The Broncos love Mayfield, and he has a ton of potential with his gunslinger mentality, although due to his height and off-the-court antics, is often compared to Johnny Manziel. 6. Indianapolis Colts. Bradley Chubb, defensive end, North Carolina State. This was a home run trade for the Colts, and it would be a grand slam if they land either Chubb or Barkley here. Chubb would be a great fit in the Colts' 4-3 defense, and he's a 3rd down back that would help them stop the likes of Deshaun Watson and Marcus Mariota within their division. 7. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Quentin Nelson, guard, Notre Dame. Secondary might be the bigger need, but they have to go with Nelson, who is the best player available. Nelson seems like a sure thing and worthy of a top 10 pick and will help the Bucs on the interior of the offensive line and will serve good for Jameis Winston. 8. Chicago Bears. Denzel Ward, cornerback, Ohio State. The Bears need secondary help as well as pass rush help, and with Chubb gone, the Bears go with Ward here. Ward isn't the biggest cornerback in the draft, but he can cover skills that are hard to come by in the league. 9. San Francisco 49ers. Minkah Fitzpatrick, safety, Alabama. This would be a steal here for the 49ers, who's improved their secondary this offseason by signing Richard Sherman. Fitzpatrick's versatility makes him special, and he's perhaps the best defensive player in this draft. 10. Oakland Raiders. Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker, Virginia Tech. The Raiders' biggest need is at linebacker, and Edmonds would be a solid pick. Edmonds is 19 years old, and his athleticism would give the Silver and Blacks defense a different look. 11. Miami Dolphins. Mason Rudolph, quarterback, Oklahoma State. The Dolphins are a strong candidate to trade up for a quarterback, but I don't do trades in my mock draft, so here I have them selecting Rudolph. He's an experienced pocket passer with a nice downfield touch. If they were to select a quarterback, it says a lot about how they feel about Ryan Tannehill. 12. Buffalo Bills from the Cincinnati Bengals. Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle, Notre Dame. After the trading of Cody Lund, the Bills have a need on the offensive line. McGlinchey isn't that strong, but he's athletic and brings stability. 13. Washington Redskins. Derwin James, strong safety, Florida State. Perhaps the best defensive playmaker in this draft, James is the new NFL prototype as a safety capable of producing against the run in both in man and zone coverage. Florida State also used him as a pure edge rusher, where he regularly pressured the quarterback. 14. Green Bay Packers. Harold Landry, linebacker, Boston College. With Ward off the board, the Packers go with Landry here to improve their pass rush. Landry did not have a great season in his final season at Boston College, but he should be a solid pro. 15. Arizona Cardinals. Lamar Jackson, quarterback, Louisville. The Cards are another trade-up candidate, but here I have them selecting Jackson, who's a good decision-maker and passer. The Cards know that Mike Lennon and Sam Bradford are not long-term answers for them, and Jackson, in theory, would be in a redshirt situation here, and the long-term foundation of Jackson and David Johnson is tough to pass up on. 16. Baltimore Ravens. Calvin Ridley, wide receiver, Alabama. The Ravens have lacked a big threat receiver for years now, and they get one here with Ridley, although they did sign Josh Brown and Michael Crabtree. Ridley brings a downfield speedy option on the outside that would bring a different look to the Ravens offense. 17. Los Angeles Chargers. Deron Payne, defensive tackle, Alabama. The Chargers pose what is arguably the best edge rushing duo in the league with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. Adding someone like Payne would only make that defensive line better. 18. Seattle Seahawks. Josh Jackson, cornerback, Iowa. The Legion of Boom is dead. The Seahawks need youth and athleticism in their secondary, and Jackson can provide that. Jackson is excellent in man-to-man coverage and comes in off a season in which he led the nation in interceptions. 19. Dallas Cowboys. Vita Vea, defensive tackle, Washington. Vea is a massive presence in the middle of the defensive line and will go a long way towards fixing that deficiency while also providing enough quickness to penetrate into backfield on some third downs. 20, Detroit Lions, Darius Geis, running back, LSU. The Lions do have a need on the pass rush, but they also have a need at running back, so they snag Geis here to improve their running game. Geis is getting some buzz and is moving up draft boards, and he could provide a serviceable, or prove to be a serviceable back. 21, Cincinnati Bengals from the Buffalo Bills. Rashaan Evans, linebacker, Alabama. The Bengals can use a linebacker now with Vontaze Burfict's suspension to start the season and mid-trade rumors. Evans brings an athletic presence who can fill multiple roles. He was more of an edge defender early in his career, and he pressured the quarterback on 67 of his 284 career rushes. However, he also showed well in a more traditional role over the last 2 years. 22, Buffalo Bills from Kansas City Chiefs. Cortland Sutton, wide receiver at SMU. With all the top quarterbacks off the board, the Bills go with Sutton to improve their receiving core. Sutton put together back-to-back seasons of 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, and he scored 32 times in all 3 seasons with the Mustangs. 23, Los Angeles Rams, Colton Miller, offensive tackle, UCLA. Miller put together a great final season at the collegiate level and could end up being a starting tackle on this Rams team protecting Jared Goff. Miller is raw, but has the length and athleticism to succeed in the league. 24, Carolina Panthers. Will Hernandez, guard, UTEP. No-brainer pick here as the Panthers find their replacement for Andrew Norwell. Hernandez is big and powerful, and he provides mobility. 25, Tennessee Titans. Leighton Vander Esch, linebacker, Boise State. Vander Esch is rising up many people's mock drafts of late. The Titans have a need at linebacker with Avery Williamson departing in free agency, and Vander Esch would be a nice replacement who brings great athleticism, speed, and has incredible size and length. 26, Atlanta Falcons. Maurice Hurst, defensive tackle, Michigan. Hurst has a heart condition at the combine that shouldn't drop him out of the first round as the Falcons find the replacement for Dontari Poe. Hurst doesn't have the size that teams are generally looking for in an interior defensive lineman, but has quickness more than makes up for that deficiency and makes him a particularly great threat in rushing the passer on third downs. 27, New Orleans Saints. Arden Key, defensive end, linebacker, LSU. He is a prospect trending down on mock boards. The premier pass rusher dealt with injuries himself in 2017, but he's impressed against top SEC talent and should be a constant sack threat in the NFL if he can stay on the field. It would be an interesting fit on this young Saints team. 28, Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Gesicki, tight end, Penn State. Gesicki is perhaps the best tight end in this draft class and would give Ben Roethlisberger yet another offensive weapon. Gesicki would be an upgrade at the position, finding a good tight end for the first time since Heath Miller retired. 29, Jacksonville Jaguars. Christian Kirk, wide receiver, Texas A&M. Even after bringing back Marquise Lee and signing Dante Moncrief, the Jags have a need at receiver after losing Allen Robinson. Kirk proves stability for long plays, although he is short, he would be a nice weapon for Blake Bortles. 30, Minnesota Vikings. Billy Price, guard, Ohio State. Price will be a nice addition to a Vikings team that could use offensive line help to protect Kirk Cousins. Price would be a great target for them as a potential replacement for Joe Burger inside, and he would be one of the better starting centers in the league, so the Vikings have the option of sticking him at the pivot immediately and having Pat Elflein compete at a guard spot. 31, New England Patriots. Orlando Brown, offensive tackle, Oklahoma. The Pats have a huge need at tackle now with Nate Solder's departure in free agency. Brown could be a steal here, and it would be very Belichick of him to take Brown here to protect Brady in his last few seasons in the league. 32, Philadelphia Eagles. Connor Williams, offensive tackle, Texas. The Eagles really don't have any needs. Williams is one of the better offensive linemen in this draft, and the Eagles' offensive line is aging, so this would be a solid pick. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with NBA recap and picks for Wednesday's games, more Odell Beckham chatter, and any other news that breaks I will talk about on the podcast as well. One more thing I forgot to mention on today's podcast. I mentioned it on my MLB Predictions podcast. Greg Bird of the Yankees out 6 to 8 weeks due to foot surgery, or ankle surgery, I should say, because they found a small fracture. He got the surgery done. He'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. It's a blow from the Yankees from a standpoint is that they lose a power-hitting left-handed hitter. But they have solid replacements in Neil Walker and Tyler Austin. Tyler Austin would play against lefties, and Neil Walker would play against righties. So they'll have that platoon at first base for the first 2 months of the season. It's a blow, but at the same time, I think the Yankees will be okay. And as I mentioned, I'll be back tomorrow, and I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.